Now,
All right, so we are joined from Nissan North America, right down the road in Canton, Mississippi, by Angie Miggins. Thank you so much for joining us. We are in the manufacturing career cluster. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School, and we're recording this for our friends at Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, Madison Central, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for taking some time for us today.
thank you for having me.
Oh, Nissan there in Canton just has so many great employment opportunities. And I think it's important to understand some of the things that are how it runs down there. What are if somebody wants to get out of high school and start working there, what would be required? But it's also kind of cool the manufacturing process that you guys do, and you yourself deal with a really high tech area of the weld shop. So before we get into all of that, why don't you give us a little bit about your background? You went to Jim Hill High School, and just take us from there.
Okay, I'm a graduate of Jim Hill High School. I briefly attended Jackson State right after high school, but it didn't work out. But during my employment at Nissan, I did manage to go back to school and I graduated from Holmes Community College in 2011.
That's awesome, and we have a great partnership with Holmes Community College as well. And if somebody and we were looking in a different class yesterday about the different programs in community college. If that's a route that these young people wanted to take, that could transfer into a career at Nissan.
It sure can. There's nothing stopping them. They have to pick their right major. There's a major in engineering. There's also in human resources. There's a vast variety of different realms of Nissan employment.
Yeah. Now, before we get into a typical day at Nissan and then what you do, one thing that I always hear from teenagers, not just, and I'm not saying the ones that are here with me now, I'm just saying teenagers in general, is they say, well, yeah, I'm just going to graduate from high school. I'm just going to go work at Nissan. And it doesn't work like that. You can't just go knock on the door. I know they have a few thousand employees, but, Nissan is investing a lot of money to have a very, very good product made, and it's got to be as close to perfect as possible. So it can't just be some willy nilly. Let me walk in the door and start doing this. It's very specialized. It's very highly trained, very technology driven. So what are some things that if somebody wanted to come work at Nissan that they would need to start mastering now?
Okay, first of all, I'll tell anybody your social media. Clean up your social media because once you put that application in, there's going to be a background check. And that background check is very detailed. They want to know who you are, what you're capable of, and what you're going to bring to the table. Once that's established, after the application process, there's a drug testing, there's a comprehensive testing, and once that's done, there's a physical test. You have to be able to stand up all day, 8, 10 hours a day. You have to be able to work on your own. You have to be able to understand the process of your job. So all of that factors in the hiring process. And they are very, very strategic in the way they screen.
Yeah, and because like we said, Nissan has invested millions and millions of dollars into this. They cannot risk the liability of someone being under the influence. They cannot risk the liability of somebody who's not healthy enough to perform the task. And then again, they cannot risk the loss of money for people that can't follow directions and be trained correctly on these machines because they are always changing. Especially with these new models that Nissan has announced, that's new things that you would have to learn.
Exactly. There is on the job training, but you have to be trainable. So that goes into everything in that hiring process.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I know you're not the HR head person, but I do know Mr. Self as well. But when somebody comes to Nissan, it's almost guaranteed they'll be working overnight.
I know personally, I have a 20-year-old. She actually works at Nissan on the night shift and she works on the final line. And I explained to her coming in that with her being a new hire, their seniority is very low. It's almost like the low man on the totem pole. So yes, she is she was prepared that she was going to be on night shift. Now, night shift is not the end all. There are so many opportunities that can get you promoted to a day shift position. And a lot of people have the misconception that Nissan is just working on the assembly line. That is not the case. I came in on the assembly line 20 years ago this month, and coming in, it was like a whole new world. But I saw so many opportunities in this plant that I felt that this was going to be my career. And here I am 20 years later, away from the I'm still in manufacturing, but it's more on the admin part, quality realm. And I'll tell anybody, just be prepared to step out of your comfort zone
Yeah.
because it pays off in the end.
Yeah, and that's a great point and a great segue to what I wanted to talk about next, because you started out in trim, and we just saw the video of the trim about how after the body is put together, that's where all the peripherals of the vehicle is put in. That's where all the interior, the seats, the lights, the windshields, the sunroofs, all that is then installed. But now you are on the body shop, which is the beginning stage after the plates are pressed. You
Exactly.
oversee the robots that are doing the welding, which I think is so cool because it hasn't always been that way. That's a new technology that auto manufacturing, whether it's Nissan or Toyota or any of them, have introduced, and that is a skill that is very much in need in manufacturing. So talk a little bit about how you got into that and how that works, because I think that's super interesting.
Okay, actually, the way it started, what I do is I'm VQA, Vehicle Quality Assurance, well auditing. And what I do is, well, I do an audit on the robots, and the robots do the work, but the technicians, they are the ones that load the cells where the robots work with the parts, and it comes from our stamping department. And the main objective of those robots are to ensure that those wells are 100% quality. And what I do is make sure the technicians are following the correct steps within standards to produce highest quality wells. Because what those wells do is hold your car together. God forbid if you're ever in an accident, you don't want your car falling apart. Those wells put so many pounds of pressure between that metal to hold them together. So if you are in an accident, there are safety procedure, there are safety um, features intact that'll prevent you from getting injured. And it's a matter of life and death.
Yeah.
So that's what my job entails, making sure those wells are 100% and making sure those technicians are following their standard.
Yeah, and those welds would change anytime there's a body change, because obviously there's a
Exactly.
change in material, there's a change in shape, a change in size. The welds are going to be different. And I'm not a welding expert, but I would know that when you're putting together a body, it's not going to be the same process every time if there's a new body coming through. And I'm not how many models are made at the plant now? Is it 8?
I'm not sure of the exact amount because we have future models coming,
Yeah.
and we're actually in the beginning stages of those models, which are the EVs, the electric vehicles.
Yeah.
So I want to say 8, but don't hold me to it.
Well, it's several, but those
Yes.
have to be, and that's where the technical and the computer and the engineering skills come into play, because even though there's always going to be a need for the skilled workers with the hands and the hand machines, because obviously some of it's got to be done by hand. There's a more and more growing need of these technical skills and these robotic skills and these engineering skills that are vital to the manufacturing industry, especially there at the Nissan plant.
Exactly, there are. And I encourage from junior high to high school, invest in those STEM programs. Those STEM programs get you prepared for things in that nature here at Nissan, robotics, engineering, even the layout of the vehicles. It all work hand in hand.
Yeah, and one thing Nissan does is they empower employees to help make decisions, because if an employee that's been there like yourself for 20 years can think of something to be more streamlined, to be more efficient, Nissan's going to listen to you.
And that is correct. We have roundtable meetings every few months, and we have global surveys that ask our opinions, ask us, are we happy? Do we see things need improvement? Do we see things that's not working, and how do we correct it? How do they correct it? So your voice will be heard. And we also have different activities outside of work that's a plus. I'm sure living in Canton or going to school in Canton, you pass through here maybe in the fall and October, and you see a big fair. That's our family day. And not only family day, we have a drive-through coming up, a drive-in movie night. And Nissan is not only invested in the environment and the um, community, they're invested in their employees. And the saying goes, you treat your employees right, your employees produce better. So it's a great company. I've been here 20 years. If I didn't love what I do, I wouldn't have been here this long.
Yeah. And that's a great point too, because obviously, like you said, people aren't just leaving Nissan. So they're going to be very specialized and very meticulous in selecting people that take the spots that they do have open up. So again, it takes skill and preparation to get there. But there is a level of excellence that's expected. Now, and you did mention this, and I think this is important to note too, because Nissan's a great place to work, because I've gotten to tour the plant, and all the stuff that's available there for employees, you really don't have to leave the plant in order to do business, because they have the bank, they have the cafeteria, they have the fitness center, the post office, all right there for the employees' convenience. So they can take care of family needs and financial needs without ever really having to leave work.
Exactly. It's a one-stop shop in a sense.
Now,
And
go ahead.
if no, I would say just come with an open mind. Don't look at it's hard work, it's backbreaking work, it's manual. Anything worth having takes work.
Yeah, and also, and obviously, if kids are interested in the manual side of it, by all means, they're always needing skilled workers. They're always needing the people with the trades. If you can learn to weld at the community college, I promise you, Nissan can find a spot for you if you're willing to put in the work, because welders are going to be at a premium in any manufacturing industry, especially in automobile manufacturing. But also, there's a big need for IT and computer people. So people that, if you're a computer person, in your case, there's computers controlling these robots. If those computer systems break down, they got to have somebody to come in and repair it. There has to be people to track the payroll. There has to be people to track the numbers. So the database management, the cybersecurity, and the IT departments in manufacturing are just out the wazoo. They are just so needed on the people on the technical side as well.
And yes, everything you said is exactly true. We have in-house technicians for all of it. Everything you mentioned, most of it is in-house. So there's no need to go out to get those IT guys and those welding guys, because there's different departments for each of those programs you just mentioned.
Now, before I get to the students' questions, what are some some other benefits besides the ones we talked about that are there that you see? What are some other benefits of employment at Nissan that are beneficial that might not be in other places?
Okay, well, as a technician, I have the opportunity to apply for a scholarship for my children that's college bound, and it's called Titans of Tomorrow. And they bumped it up to 5,000 per semester. And all I have to do is just fill out the application, and it's only 10 awarded. But if you fill out your application early, there's a great chance that you may get it. Also, there's also tuition reimbursement in case you're in the workforce and you decide you want to branch out and go higher. You can go back to school and Nissan would reimburse you that tuition. And there's our lease car program. That means we get to lease a brand new Nissan right off the factory floor.
Wow.
Not free, but it's discounted heavily.
Sure.
And we get first pick almost. And it's a great program if that's the route you want to take. It's a leasing program, but at the end of that 1 year lease, you have the option to purchase that vehicle. And of course, you have to go through the proper steps as far as credit check and all that, but that's their option. And Family Day, I've mentioned. I mean, it's I can't say too many times it's a great place to work.
That's awesome, and it really is so helpful when you actually you actually enjoy the people you work with. Because actually, before you came on, I was just talking about they have an assignment coming up where they don't get to choose their groups because I said you don't get to choose your coworkers, but it helps so much when you actually do like your coworkers. So that's really cool. But I do have a few questions from the students, and wow, this first one's really good. This is DeKayla Williamson. She's a ninth grader, one of our cheerleaders here at Belma Jackson, and she asked, "What is the most challenging thing you've had to do as your new role at Nissan?"
The most challenging thing is learning the standards. That's the most challenging because I came off the shop floor as a technician, and it's not much. I'm not saying it's not tedious, but it's a different learning curve. Instead of me coming to work, putting on parts, I had to learn the reasoning behind it. It's a lot of paperwork. It's computer skills. It's clerical skills. It's so much. It's comprehension. So that was something I had to get adjusted to. Like I said, I was a technician for over 17 years. So I've only been in this position a few months. So it was just getting adjusted to the different um, learning curves.
Okay. And I can see that in any new role. And obviously, like we said, with the model changes and the technology changes, that's not going to stop.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Uh,
And like I said, we have to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead because I had another question, but I still you're still answering.
No, like you said, with different model changes, there's paperwork that's involved in it, and it's you're constantly learning, so you have to stay on top of your game. So you go ahead with the next question.
Well, that way it's never boring. But this is Christian Mitchell. She's a junior, and she asked, "What made you originally go to Nissan, and was it your first choice as a career?"
Well, I remember back in 2001, I would say, we first heard Nissan was coming to Mississippi. And at the time, I was working at a paper mill that was called International Paper.
Oh,
And, and that was in Richland, Mississippi. And we were just talking about how it would be so great to do that. Just everybody was just like, that's something different, auto manufacturing. And a few months later, our company actually was making a change and they were going to shut down. And some representatives from Nissan came and gave all of us applications for those that wanted to apply. And I remember making the comment, I don't care. I would clean the bathroom. I just want a job at Nissan. Not even knowing that I will be working there a year later.
wow.
And like I said, was it my first choice? Absolutely, because I wanted to do something different. I had already worked in manufacturing, but I wanted something outside of what I was used to.
That's awesome. This is a good question. This is Amari Williams. He's in ninth grade, and he asked, "How diverse is the workforce at the Nissan plant?"
It's very, very diverse. And Nissan also honor the diversity by celebrating different cultures, ethnicity. We have African American month, we have Native American month, we have Latino heritage, we have Asian heritage. So there is you'll meet different people with different cultures, and the diversities help us all out to understand each other.
Yeah, and to me that'd be because even if you're not a part of one of those groups, you still get to experience it. So it's all it really is a year-long education. That's really cool. This is Jayla Chambers. She's in ninth grade, and she asked, "What is the most challenging experience you've had to deal with, and how did you deal with it?"
My most challenging experience. Okay, coming from trim, I was on the line, and that assembly line just constantly goes, and it doesn't stop unless there's a defect or it's break time. Coming to the body shop is a whole different world in a sense because the body shop, the robots do all the work, and the technicians just load the parts in the robots' wells. Well, the robots are in a cell, and we are separated from those robots by some beams. If you cross those beams, it stops the robot so you won't get hurt. Well, coming from trim, I was running a marathon. I did not get used to the laid back, slower pace. So I would break the light curtain, what they call the beam, every time and stop the line because I was working too fast. And it took a minute to adjust to going at a slower rate because I was used to getting up, working, and not stop the line. But this time I was had to relearn, retrain myself to slow down and take my time. So
That's
that was a
awesome.
big adjustment. But after a few months, I finally got it.
I'm just picturing how frustrated people will get. Like, man, the new girl messed up again.
Right.
This is Jarvis Lyles. He's in ninth grade, and he asked, "What happens if the robots do the wrong process?"
Okay. We have a system where it's all the robots, they're connected to a computer system. And on our computer system, there is a help call button. And there is no anything wrong with pushing that button to let maintenance know to come and check out what's going on. And they encourage us to do that because some technician will go and try to figure it out themselves and make the problem more um, worse than what initially what was ever going on. So yeah, we have uh, things in place to stop that line or call for help.
Wow. Now here's one you may not know the answer to, but it's still an interesting question. This is Michaela Davis. She's a junior, and she asked, "What types of models do you see Nissan rolling out in the next 5 years?"
Okay, um, I think the EVs, the electric vehicles, we're going like right now we have two coming. I think eventually it may be just strictly all electric vehicles. That's what I'm predicting.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. So we'll have to see. That'd be a big overhaul in a production process. So
Yes.
that'd be a lot. Again, like we said, Nissan invests millions of dollars. That'd be millions of dollars before they even roll anything off the assembly line, just to change the assembly process. So that is
Mhm.
they're going to need good people that can really be trained in that. So that's a great point. All right, I've got one more from the one more question from the students. This is Lakeria Jackson. She's in ninth grade, and she asked, "Is there a quote or a person that inspires you the most?"
A quote. I'm not going to quote because I don't want to get it wrong, but the person that inspires me the most, I have a twin sister.
Oh wow!
And yes, she is my best friend. And the reason why my sister inspires me because my sister can adapt to change like no other. Me, I'm laid back. I would definitely wait and not. I mean, I don't. As far as work, I can change, but she goes out on a limb. She's not afraid of anything. My sister is very fearless. My
Wow!
sister has been in Georgia 17 years. She moved to Georgia with no job and nowhere to stay. But she had a plan
Wow!
and she was able to accomplish so much because she knew what she wanted. And she inspired me every single day because she just changed positions at her job. She works for a Korean company, similar to what we do, but a little different, like excavation equipment. But anyway, she just changed different a whole new company and she's thriving in her new career. So she's my inspiration.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us, especially for your first ever Zoom call. This has been
Yes.
it's been educational for me. I'm learning some new things, but you know, obviously we said Nissan is obviously a great place to work, and our young people, whether they're watching now or watching later, should consider should consider coming to work there. But what do they need to prepare for now if they really have a desire to work for Nissan in the coming years?
Okay. Be prepared to work long hours. Be prepared to change, accept changes. This is the auto out of industry. There's always change. In my first impression of Nissan, I was thinking, okay, this is gonna be easy because seeing videos on TV of the big three in Michigan and Detroit, just seeing how their plants ran, it's more than what you think it is, but you have to have an open mind and be prepared for change. Be prepared to be more on a structured schedule because we are producing vehicles that have to go to dealerships at a certain time. So there is no slacking. There is no, oh, I just come to work when I feel like it. I'll come on this day. No, you have to be there Monday. Well, no, I can't even say Monday through Friday because we work a lot of Saturdays when it's when production is really in demand. So just be prepared for change. Be prepared to work. And it's not just on the assembly line. Like I said, it's different realms of jobs here, from the floor to administration. So just have an open mind.
Well, obviously, it's been good to you, and it just
Yes.
such a great story. Manufacturing is such a cool field, and it's way more technology based than people realize. So, thank you again, Angie Miggins, Nissan North America, right here in Canton, Mississippi. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Y'all have a great day.
All right, and you did a great job for your first time.
Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon, my friend.
Okay. Bye bye.
See ya.